All right, on to ETH Bitcoin. This is a crazy chart. I'm just going to zoom it out a little bit here for everyone to see. So a lot of people have talked about this range that we've been in for ETH Bitcoin, which is this sort of like green range that you can see. And this is since 2021, about April, we jumped into this. And we've sort of been ranging into these levels for the last like 2 years. And we haven't been able to break out of it. We haven't been able to break below it. The numbers I'm talking about are 0.049 up to 0.088. Okay. Again, this is the ETH versus Bitcoin for those that are not watching right now. And so we've just been in this range. Not a whole lot has happened. We've gone to the very top of it where it looked like ETH was going to be the best one and it was going to break out. And then we've gone to the bottom where it looked like Bitcoin was going to break out and then back up for ETH. And we are actually back down kind of near the lows. But I want to zoom out further and forget about that green range just for a second and look at these two blue lines that I've put on this chart. It looks a little bit weird, but this is a pretty common chart, which is a wedge pattern, okay? And wedge pattern just basically shows that you're going to break out either the upside or the downside. And typically what you do is when you have a pattern like this, you would take the line from the top of the blue line there to the bottom, and that's your sort of breakout length. And so you could take it either to the upside. Whoa. You could take it either to the upside. Let me just move that over. Or you could take it down. You can see it's a very big move, right? So you could take it to the upside here. We're now at 1.4 if Ethereum breaks the upside. And then you could also go down below if Bitcoin breaks to the downside, or Ethereum breaks the downside, I guess you would call it. And we're at like let me get my screen there. 0.0028, right? So these are really, really big moves. Now, the timing you see, the time frames from this is not accurate. This is just the potential length it goes. It could take months, could take years to play out. But let's talk about ETH Bitcoin just a little bit here. So obviously, as I just mentioned in the ETH section, Bitcoin has had a really good year, right? During the bear market, actually, ETH held up pretty strong, which I think most people were surprised. It doesn't normally do this. Now it's only had another one bear market before this, but it hasn't done this previously. The fact that ETH held up so strong in the bear market had a lot of people pretty impressed with ETH. A lot of that, I think, was because of its move to proof of stake, which lowered its inflation, and then also the burn, which helped it become deflationary. And so it showed that it was a strong asset. Now, as usual, Bitcoin does perform better in bear markets, and finally, Bitcoin has done that. And it's generally early bull or pre-bull, I guess you could call it, where Bitcoin starts to really take off and its dominance really, really goes through the roof, which I will actually show in just a second. And so that's basically what's happened. So it was actually kind of expected. It felt a little bit like ETH was going to maybe outperform in a bear market for the first time. Didn't happen. Either way, here's what we're at in this sort of big wedge pattern here. If we look and kind of zoom in, I want to make sure we can see it. Bitcoin has actually bounced right off this wedge line, which is crazy. This is a 7-year-long wedge pattern. And ETH has bounced off that back up. We're now actually down, touching it one more time here. Bitcoin's had a nice little run over the last couple of days. We're up at 42,000, just above that now on Bitcoin. ETH had its run as well, but now it's sort of paused for the last 24 hours. Again, this is very short term I'm talking about. So Bitcoin is doing quite well here. I would expect it to bounce off again, but let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. I believe that Ethereum is a stronger asset in terms of its tokenomics. And so my bet here, which is shown in my portfolio, is that Ethereum is going to break to the upside. So we're probably going to bounce off this blue line. Look, maybe it comes below it. It's fine. I don't think it does for very long. For it to confirm, it has to actually come out, maybe touch it again, and then go. Just if it breaks out for 1 second or a couple of days or, whatever, a couple of weeks, it's not really a confirmation. But my assumption is ETH ends up breaking out. I think, again, when it happens is when the ETFs are approved. I think Bitcoin might have one leg higher, and then when that ETF gets approved, and I think it's all ETH from there. It could even happen sooner. Here's the Bitcoin dominance chart, just to play on what I was just talking about here. This is Bitcoin versus the total crypto market cap. And we have some similar patterns. So back in, 2016, there was just no assets at the time. So Bitcoin was almost 100%. It was sitting at 99% dominance of the market. So meaning 99% of the total market cap was made up of Bitcoin's market cap. Obviously, then Ethereum was the next big asset to be released, and that brought the market cap, the dominance, down by a lot. So Bitcoin ended up only being about 35% during the bull market, which is typical. It always goes down in bull markets. Then in the bear market, Bitcoin took back over. It made it up all the way to 74%, 73%-ish during the bear. And then again, the bull market came back in 2020, 2021. and it went down to about 38%. Now we've been driving all the way back up. Bitcoin's sitting at 54.5% dominance at the moment. My assumption is it doesn't reach the highs of last market, okay? The reason is there's still a lot more assets than there was last cycle, just like there was the previous cycle, right? So what I sort of look at is maybe a trend line. You don't really know where to start it, but let's say it's somewhere here. If we bring it down, touching on that, if you can see my screen here, I'm just going from the previous cycles and touching the tops of the Bitcoin dominance percentage. And if I bring it all the way out to now, we're looking at maybe Bitcoin goes another 4 or 5% to get to about 58%, depending on when it happens, somewhere between 57 and 58%. So maybe one more leg up just based off the size of these ones. And then I think it tops out there if it even reaches that. Let's see, probably it reaches that trend line, but honestly, I don't know. But again, even if that does move, it doesn't mean Ethereum doesn't move along with it or other assets don't move along with it as well. But that's sort of what we're looking at there. So I do think we get maybe one more move in Bitcoin. And again, I think this comes as the spot Bitcoin ETF is approved. After that, I think it's all ETH. So, and generally when ETH starts to really move, that signals it's bull market time and the mania starts to ensue. So I think that's when things start to get a little bit crazier, which again will probably happen at some point in the new year, which may also coincide with interest rates being lowered. So the other thing to remember here is every time Bitcoin dominance has started to go down, that's actually coincided with interest rates being lowered. And it happened both cycles. So Bitcoin dominance continues to go up in the bull market until interest rates are lowered, then it goes down. Now, maybe that's just a coincidence, who knows, but that could happen. And timing looks pretty good. I think probably Q1, Q2, we start to see interest rates go lower as we continue to see inflation go down. And so let's see, that's sort of what I'm eyeing. But again, this will change. And every week I will make sure to update my thesis to you in the Market Watch episodes. Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.